The moment Rex Ryan opened his mouth on national television, the energy shifted fast. Sources say the segment wasn't framed as analysis. It came off like straight disrespect aimed directly at Shedeur Sanders and everything he's done as a rookie. Ryan didn't just critique a play or a decision. He questioned effort, toughness, and even suggested he wanted to see Shedeur throw a pick just to see what happens.
Look at it, it's all about Myles Garrett.
Going back to this game to look forward, you're talking about the Cleveland Browns being able to just win 3 games. Rightfully so, Rex. They're going to be a team to reckon with down the road by having this young roster.
That line alone had fans heated because it wasn't football breakdown. It sounded personal. Then came the wildest part. Ryan claimed Shedeur wouldn't even try to make a tackle and tied the Browns' struggles entirely to him, brushing off injuries, roster gaps, and coaching chaos like none of it mattered. Sources close to the Browns' locker room say players saw that clip immediately, and the reaction wasn't quiet. Heads shaking, phones out, and a lot of "that's cap" being said real loud.
By the way, there were some things that Rex said that if he actually filed it with a coherent thought, I would agree with. Is there a disconnect between Shedeur and Kevin? That's a fair question. I don't think there is. I think Kevin just has his attention elsewhere. But again, that's a fair question. But to act like the kid sitting on the sideline or that in the press conference said, hey, I really feel like this loss is on me, that it's somehow an indictment on his character, just say you don't like the kid.
Ryan doubled down by saying Cleveland ain't going to be close against the Steelers, dismissing everything Shedeur showed on tape. That's when people started pulling receipts. Game film showed Sanders stepping into pressure, standing tall, taking hits, and still delivering throws. He didn't play scared, didn't play soft, and definitely didn't fold the way Ryan painted it. What made it worse was the tone. This wasn't old school tough love. It felt like a setup. Sources say analysts behind the scenes were shocked Ryan went that far without backing it up with real stats or context.
You watch with teammates or you watch at home?
Nah, I'm trying to make it out of here so I can call Shedeur real quick and make sure he can get it done. So I'll probably just be,
That opened the door for fans, former players, and even other media voices to jump in and call it out. And once the clip went viral, the internet did what it does best. Broke it down frame by frame. People started comparing what Ryan said to what actually happened on the field. That's when the narrative flipped hard. And suddenly Rex Ryan wasn't the loud voice in control anymore. He was on defense. As the clip spread, sources say fans went straight to the numbers in the film. Shedeur's rookie season wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the disaster Ryan tried to sell either. Broken protections, rotating receivers, injuries on the line, and constant scheme changes made life hard for any quarterback. Yet Shedeur still showed poise, arm talent, and leadership that jumped off the screen.
I want to see improvement with Shedeur, too. I mean, see a little improvement from Shedeur today, Coach, huh?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, man, those rookies leading everything. That's why they won 3 games. This team ain't going to be close this game. Aaron Rodgers, I'm fascinated by that. I love seeing it. I mean, let's say what it is, right? When you look at it, it's all about Myles Garrett, all right, getting a sack. But that is fascinating by Aaron Rodgers, that your clip. And what it showed is he actually was in protection, okay? And then he says, hey, look, they're just playing, man, they're showing too high.
Ryan's claim that that's why they won 3 games didn't hold up under scrutiny. Analysts pointed out multiple one-score losses where defensive breakdowns or missed field goals decided games. That's not on the quarterback. That's team football failing as a whole. Then came the tackle talk. Fans pulled clips of Shedeur chasing plays, stepping up in run support, and showing effort that contradicts Ryan's comment completely. Sources say even former defensive players were confused by that angle, because quarterbacks aren't taught to risk injury making tackles in today's league. The Steelers' prediction added more fuel. Saying Cleveland ain't going to be close sounded bold, but reckless, considering the matchup trends and how Shedeur had already shown he doesn't fold under pressure. That take looked more like a soundbite grab than actual football analysis. What really flipped the moment was how fast Ryan's words aged. Within hours, respected football voices started saying the quiet part out loud, that Shedeur is being judged by a different standard. Mistakes get magnified, wins get minimized, and growth gets ignored. Sources say even some ESPN staff quietly admitted the segment crossed from critique into disrespect. And once that door opened, Randy Moss got pulled into the conversation too, because people felt the overall tone from the panel leaned toward dismissal instead of evaluation. The internet didn't forget, didn't move on, and didn't let it slide. Randy Moss didn't go as hard as Ryan, but sources say his body language and reactions during the segment spoke volumes. Laughs at the wrong time, nods at shaky claims, and silence when context mattered made fans feel like the pile-on was coordinated. That didn't sit right with people who respect Moss's football mind. Fans expected balance from someone who understands what it's like to be judged early, misread, and doubted. Instead, Moss appeared to ride the momentum of Ryan's rant, and that dragged his name into the backlash fast. Social media started running side-by-side clips, Moss praising young quarterbacks for confidence and swagger in one segment, then sitting quiet while Shedeur gets framed as careless and unprepared. That contrast hit hard. Sources say this is where the conversation shifted from football to fairness. It wasn't about one bad game or one bad take. It was about how narratives get built around certain players faster than others. Former players jumped in saying Shedeur is being forced to answer for organizational mistakes he didn't create. Coaching instability, offensive line issues, play calling that never fully leaned into his strengths. None of that came up on Ryan's segment. Moss didn't correct it, didn't redirect it, and didn't add context, and that silence spoke loud. Fans felt betrayed, especially those who expected Moss to protect young players from lazy narratives. Once that angle took hold, the criticism exploded beyond one show. This became about media accountability and why certain quarterbacks don't get room to grow. Here's the part that made the situation worse for Ryan and Moss. Shedeur didn't clap back on social media. He didn't rant, didn't post, didn't fire shots. Sources say he let the tape talk, and that's what really crushed the narrative. At practice, coaches noticed sharper reads, quicker decisions, and more vocal leadership. Teammates rallied tighter, and the locker room energy shifted from frustration to focus. That's not a quarterback folding. That's one responding the right way. Film showed cleaner footwork, better anticipation, and smarter risk management. Every rep looked like a quiet answer to loud criticism. That made Ryan's comments age even worse. Sources say players around the league noticed too. Defensive backs spoke about how calm Shedeur looks under heat. Linebackers said he doesn't panic when protection breaks. That's respect earned on the field. The Steelers' talk came back around too. Cleveland played harder than expected, proving Ryan's dismissal premature at best. Even analysts who doubted Shedeur admitted the team fought, competed, and stayed alive longer than predicted. That's how narratives flip, not through arguing, but through performance. By the end of the week, the tone around Shedeur shifted completely. What started as a disrespectful segment turned into a case study on media bias, lazy takes, and accountability. Ryan didn't just criticize a quarterback, he exposed how fast narratives get pushed without full context. Fans aren't asking for praise, they're asking for fairness. Evaluate the play, the film, the growth, and the situation honestly. Stop rooting for failure just to prove a point. Shedeur Sanders didn't get crushed by Rex Ryan, the take did. And once the receipts hit, there was no running from it. This moment didn't end the conversation, it rewired it. Once the Rex Ryan clip finished circulating, sources say something deeper started happening behind the scenes. A quiet but coordinated narrative push. Talking heads across different shows suddenly echoed the same talking points, using similar phrasing, similar framing, and similar selective stats. It wasn't about breaking down reads or footwork anymore. It was about planting doubt. The word ceiling started popping up. Is this who he really is? Became the new angle. And every positive play suddenly got followed by a but. Sources say this is how young quarterbacks get boxed in early. If the story is failure, every mistake becomes proof. If the story is doubt, growth gets ignored. Analysts replayed sacks without mentioning blown protections. They replayed short throws without mentioning conservative play calling. They questioned leadership without acknowledging that veterans were publicly backing him. The wild part? Some of the same analysts praising other rookies for game managing were roasting Shedeur for the same exact thing. One quarterback throwing checkdowns is smart, another doing it is scared. That double standard didn't go unnoticed. Fans started calling it out. Former players started speaking up. Even neutral analysts admitted the coverage felt slanted. Sources say executives inside NFL media companies noticed the backlash quickly. Engagement spiked, but not in a good way. Comments were filled with fans demanding actual film breakdowns instead of hot takes. That forced a pivot. Suddenly, more tape-focused segments appeared. More balanced language crept in. The temperature cooled, not because Shedeur changed, but because the narrative lost credibility. The locker room response made it worse for the critics. Teammates didn't distance themselves, they rallied. Offensive linemen took accountability publicly. Receivers admitted timing issues. Coaches emphasized development, not panic. That unity directly contradicted the idea that Shedeur was the problem. Sources say what really frustrated media critics was this. Shedeur never cracked. No emotional rant, no cryptic tweets, no excuses. He kept showing up, kept grinding, kept leading. That discipline didn't fit the meltdown story they were pushing. By midweek, the conversation had flipped. Instead of, can he handle it? People started asking, why is he being tested differently? Instead of, is he tough? The question became, why are people rooting for him to fail? That shift didn't come from PR. It came from people watching closely. The attempted takedown backfired. Instead of exposing weakness, it exposed how fragile certain media narratives really are when fans demand truth over drama. Sources say this Rex Ryan moment won't fade quietly. It's going to live in highlight reels, debates, and future evaluations for a long time. Not because of what Ryan said, but because of how the league reacted. This became a measuring stick for how quarterbacks are treated, protected, and judged in real time. When teams evaluate Shedeur moving forward, they won't just see stats, they'll see resilience. They'll see a quarterback who faced public doubt early and didn't flinch. Front offices value that more than fans realize. Pressure exposes habits, and Shedeur showed discipline, not panic. Sources close to league scouts say this moment actually strengthened his profile. Executives want quarterbacks who don't fold when narratives turn ugly. They want leaders who keep locker rooms together when noise gets loud. That's exactly what happened here. The Rex Ryan take also changed how analysts approach Shedeur now. People are more cautious. They choose words carefully. Nobody wants to be the next clip getting ratioed and replayed with receipts attached. That accountability matters. Randy Moss too felt the heat. Fans expect legends to protect the game, not reinforce lazy tropes. Sources say Moss is now more deliberate when discussing young quarterbacks, especially in emotionally charged segments. What's wild is how fast this all escalated. One segment, one bad take, and suddenly the entire conversation around Shedeur evolved. That doesn't happen unless something real is exposed. Sources say young quarterbacks around the league noticed too. This wasn't just about Cleveland. This was about culture, about who gets patience and who gets skepticism, about who's allowed to grow in public. Shedeur Sanders didn't just survive the moment, he changed it. He forced people to slow down, check facts, and rewatch film. That's power, even without saying a word. This chapter will be referenced every time someone tries to reduce him to a soundbite, every time effort is questioned without proof, every time growth is ignored for clicks. And the wildest part, sources say this is only the beginning. The louder the doubts get, the more focused Shedeur becomes. The tape keeps improving, the leadership keeps sharpening. Rex Ryan thought he was exposing a quarterback. Instead, he exposed a system that underestimates composure, discipline, and quiet confidence. And now, everyone's watching closer than ever. Not to see Shedeur fail, but to see how far he can push back against a narrative that never should have existed in the first place. If this breakdown added clarity, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more real football talk, receipts, and unfiltered breakdowns, because the truth always shows up on tape.